What's up, comic book fans? And welcome to Comics Icons. Now, JJ, what they call me. And today, ladies and gentlemen, it is here. Blood Hunt issue number 1. Ladies and gentlemen, this massive new Marvel crossover event is officially upon us, and it is about to go down. Oh my God, this issue is absolutely insane. And I don't know if you like to eat snacks before these things, or sip on a little something, or hell, even smoke on a little something. But whatever it is, you probably gonna want to grab that right now, because this one here might make your head explode, folks. So if you guys are ready for this new Marvel event, where more than likely your favorite Marvel character just might bite it, pun intended, because there will be blood. So much blood. Do you guys know what time it is? Let's get it. So it was almost 2 months ago now when Marvel released a preview special issue for Blood Hunt. And in it, we got to see a little bit of the beginning of the event. Plus, we got the opportunity to get introduced to the deadly new group called the Blood Coven, a super-powered vampire group strong enough to match strength with Earth's mightiest heroes. And this deadly vampire faction is led by Bloodstorm 1, who's a clone of Dracula created by Hydra. So make sure y'all keep that in y'all minds. But it all starts when all of the Dark Force users begin to lose control of their powers. And I mean all of the Dark Force users. Cloak, Darkstar, Silhouette, Dusk. And spoiler alert, because I know we have been doing the Vengeance of the Moon Knight series, and I've been very far behind on that. And I promise I'm going to catch that back up. But this, of course, is a spoiler alert for that, because in last issue last month, the identity was revealed of the Moon Knight imposter, and the identity was revealed to be none other than Shroud, another Dark Force user. And ladies and gentlemen, even he becomes victim to what is being called Sun Death. It takes a little more than 12 minutes for Sun Death to happen, as all the Dark Force users begin dispersing Dark Force energy that starts to blacken out the skies, blocking out the sun. And it's at complete Sun Death when we get these words: "This is how the world ends. This is my work. This has always been my work. And after so very long, I will complete it." Now, we don't yet know who those words come from, but they sound pretty damn important. But then we pick up with the Avengers, who, if you had seen my last video for the Avengers issue number 13, they had noticed Sun Death from their impossible city in orbit over the Earth. And I'm gonna make sure I put a card at the top of the screen for you right now so you can check that issue out if you haven't already. But now they're on the ground on the Earth trying to determine the cause of this event. And as Iron Man radios to Scarlet Witch from in the air to find out if she sees anything better than the bad he's noticing, she comes in contact with one of the Dark Force users known as Blackout, just as his body fully dissipates into more of the darkness in the skies. Apparently, he had been robbing a bank and just exploded in the Dark Force energy. And Iron Man is getting similar reports from around the world, leading Scarlet Witch to come to the conclusion that all Dark Force users have become portals to the Dark Force dimension. And Iron Man thinks that maybe Scarlet Witch could maybe use her magic to close all of the portals. But she tells him that that'd be like trying to punch out Galactus. This is an entire dimension's energy forcing its way into our own for multiple breaches, she tells him. Then we pick up with Hunter's Moon and Tigra from the Midnight Mission. And as they were in the middle of fighting with Shroud after he had been revealed to be the Moon Knight imposter. And just like what Scarlet Witch saw, these two look on as Shroud turns into pure Dark Force energy, blacking out the sky. And Tigra notices that this is happening all over the world. And Hunter's Moon notices that it's also blocking out the moon. This definitely isn't an accident, he says. It's an attack as they look up and a horde of vampires comes descending down from the sky. Blood Hunt, ladies and gentlemen, it's on. And all over the world, the vampires run rampant. Milan, Italy, Lagos, Nigeria, Calgary, Canada, China, Colombia, South Korea, all experienced these massive sun death massacres. Then we pick up with these two guys that are running for their lives. And as they approach this border, one of the guys is like, we can't trespass. Not there. But the other guy tells them that they got no choice. They're being chased by a couple of vampires, so they take the lesser of two evils. And they cross this border, and as the vampires try to cross behind them, they burst into flames. And we find out that this is the border to Latveria. As Doom looks on, and he tells his subject at his side that Latveria's borders are secure. Now ensure that Doom's new subjects are attended to. Doom's ready for the smoke, y'all. Then we pick up in Brooklyn, about an hour into sun death, and Miles Morales' Spider-Man is using his Venom Blast sword to fight off vamps. And just as he asks, what would Blade do? That's exactly who walks out. Blade. That is a good question, isn't it? Blade says to him. Things are looking bad, Spider-Man, but I've got a plan. And it's not just down to what I do. I've got something I need you to do. Then we pick back up with the Avengers. And as they all fight off hordes of vampires, they each try to figure out who could be behind this. And Thor doesn't know, Captain Marvel doesn't know, nor Black Panther. But Vision suggests that, from what he's assessed, Dracula is currently unaccounted for. But Cap doesn't think this feels like Dracula. He's put a lot of work into founding his vampire nation. Pulling something like this is outside of his trajectory. Then who could it be, Scarlet Witch asks. But then an alert comes in to the Avengers, a priority alert. And they're like, who is this? And the voice tells them that it's exactly who you wanted to be on a day like today. This is Blade. Yes, sir, y'all. Blade is that dude. I'm a huge fan of Blade, y'all, since back in the Wesley Snipes days. And I can't wait to see Mahershala Ali play the role in the MCU. But knowing that Blade was going to be a big part of this series is one of the main reasons I've been so hyped for this event. But he's racing through the city in a big ass truck, and he tells the Avengers that he's on the run and he has information. We need to meet. Lock onto my coordinates and teleport this rig up to the impossible city. Meet me there. Blade out. So we've seen Blade pull up on Miles Morales, and now he's about to meet up with the Avengers. So he must be putting together a nice little vampire team, I guess, right? So Iron Man's on board with the plan, and he has the city lock in on that truck for teleport. Then he calls the Avengers home, as long as none of them object. And they don't object, although they acknowledge that they don't really have time to be leaving this battle, so they better make it quick. Because Thor's rage is endless, and an endless number of foes upon which to slake it appeals to him. So Blade's truck comes teleporting into the city, still at full speed. And as it comes to a stop, they call out to Blade, asking him what's going on. But then there's a loud noise that starts to ring out, and it begins to pierce and hurt the ears of all the Avengers. And then a voice tells them that the Daywalker couldn't make it. But thank you for inviting us in, Avengers. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to introduce you guys to the Blood Coven. As they step out of the back of the truck, and their leader Bloodstorm 1 is the first one to speak as he tells the Avengers that his warriors have been waiting for this. Then he begins to order his team into battle like a general. Megrim, maintain the psychic static. Cruel and unusual, take the witch first. Damascene, the thunder god. Smoke Eater, on me. But Smoke Eater is the first to maybe show a little bit of dissension here when he tells Bloodstorm 1 to watch his tone. He only takes orders from the master. But Bloodstorm 1 reminds him that he's in charge of the Blood Coven, and he's gonna fall in line. He doesn't care how much crematoria smoke he's inhaled. And we were told in the preview by the artist Pepe Larraz that the idea with Smoke Eater is that he inhales ghosts to acquire their strength in combat and becomes the sum of multiple beings, hence the limbs, and making him one of the heavy hitters on this team. And he and Bloodstorm 1 take on Black Panther and Captain America first. Then it's Unusual who gets into the head of the Scarlet Witch. Meanwhile, Thor is left shocked when he's cut by Damascene, who's then told by Bloodstorm 1 that Damascene can cut anything, Asgardian flesh, or intangible synthezoid molecules, and he fires a dagger straight through Vision. Then Iron Man tries to take a stand, but he's met with Cruel, and now Stark can feel these barbed wire tentacles inside of his suit as he's wrapped up and pulled down to the ground. Ah, so much delicious pain already. So invigorating, Cruel says to Iron Man. And so much more to come when I strip you out of that metal shell. Meanwhile, Megrim tortures Captain Marvel through her mind, while Smoke Eater comes in and smashes her head to the ground. Then he tells her that Cruel eats pain, Unusual eats magic, I eat spirits, Megrim eats thoughts, and leaves only agony. Then we pick up with Captain America, Sam Wilson, and he's now fighting Bloodstorm 1 one-on-one. But B1 tells Captain he's the one he particularly wants. You'll be a fine prize for the Master when I turn you. You'll be our symbol then, and your species will weep. But Black Panther comes to Sam's aid with a spear, causing B1 to toss Cap to the side, while Thor and Wanda just get abused. And Unusual tells Wanda that her chaos magic is like nothing he's ever tasted. And now the Avengers are all just beaten down, and Iron Man's suit is warning him of his compromised integrity. Meanwhile, a stabbed up and beaten Thor stands to his feet and tells Damascene that you may cut me, monster, but you cannot turn me, and you cannot kill me. But Cruel turns around and tells Thor that killing him would be a waste. They want to keep him, as Thor takes a dagger to the dome, y'all, and goes down. Then B1 stalks his prey and says that the Master will be pleased. A good first outing, my lovely blood coven. As now all of the Avengers are down, T'Challa as a last resort calls out for the city to prepare for dimension shift. But the city can't, because Cruel has found out that even a city can feel pain, and he's eating the city's pain now. Sheesh. As Cap tells T'Challa that it looks like these guys have thought of everything. T'Challa tells him not quite, and he calls for the city to begin emergency evacuation, beginning with Captain America. And as the city begins to take Cap, he screams out no to T'Challa, who runs at Bloodstorm 1, who's now pissed that the Black Panther has taken away his prize. And he puts his hand right through T'Challa. And as the remaining Avengers, Captain America, Captain Marvel, Iron Man, and Vision, look on at their fallen soldiers, Black Panther and Thor, as they're being beamed away by the city, Black Panther, with his last breath, tells the Coven that he can't let them have the symbol, because the world will need a symbol. As Bloodstorm 1 roars out in anger. Then we move over to Bleecker Street as someone approaches. And inside, Stephen and Clea Strange are searching through spells, and Clea feels the need to be out there right now helping. But Stephen lets her know that if they can assemble the Montesi formula, then all this ends immediately. A spell to kill every vampire on Earth. Good trick, Doc, says Blade as he walks into the room. But you need the Darkhold for that, don't you? He asks. And last I heard, Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, had eaten the Darkhold. But on a day like today, Stephen and Clea are happy to see Blade. Then Stephen asks him what's going on. And Blade tells him that it's a vampire uprising. We've all tangled with vampires before, but this is different. This time they're organized. One big push to break humanity. Put the blood drinkers on top. They call themselves the Structure, a vampire cult that was spreading across the world before Moon Knight killed their leader. But they found a new leader, one with a plan. One, using antediluvian Atlantean rituals to detonate Dark Force users and turn them into portals to block out the sun. 2, global uprisings, mobilizing legions of mass-turned maniacs all across the globe, striking at population centers, critical infrastructure, the like. And 3, taking out the Avengers. And Stephen and Clea are like, the Avengers? No chance. But Blade tells them that there's a kill squad, ultra vampires, fed on superhuman blood, empowered by divergent philosophies of feeding on pain or ghosts or magic. The Blood Coven is a match for the Avengers. Believe me. Or was a match, I guess. This isn't conjecture. The Avengers are down. So now Strange acknowledges that it's even more important then for them to get this formula together. So now Blade's like, you do that? Kill every vampire on Earth? Even though some of them are on your side? But we all know how Strange gets down, y'all. And he tells Blade that he is a doctor. If he has to cut away a limb to save the patient, he'll do it. He'll accept his own damnation to save his patient or his world. And Blade's like, impressive. He already knew that Wanda would never cast a spell to exterminate an entire people. It's not in her. But he wasn't quite sure about Strange. But then Strange asks Blade about the new leader of the structure that he had mentioned. Who is this mastermind, he asks. Is it Dracula? But Blade responds, no, nothing like that. Then he asks Strange, do you want to know who put out the sun? Who released the children of the night? Who assembled the monsters who killed the Avengers? The leader of the structure? It's me. And then Blade drives his blade right through the back of Doctor Strange. Ladies and gentlemen, oh my God, I hope y'all ready for this insane new event. Because that is how it kicks off. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is how this first issue is. Jeez, oh my God. Are your minds blown yet? What's up, comic book fans? And welcome to Comics Icons. Now, JJ, what they call me. And today, we got more Blood Hunt. This time with issue 2 of the main Blood Hunt series. And this time, the Avengers hit back. So when we pick this issue up, Thor is strung up, still in the Impossible City, with those daggers from Damascene still in his body, and a puddle of blood beneath him that constantly grows, and runes that are keeping Scarlet Witch bound. As Blade basks in his early victory, and as one of his new monsters reawakens. Then Blade asks his new child, how do you feel, T'Challa? As the Black Panther is revealed to have been turned and now a new member of Blade's vampire army. And at first T'Challa tries to fight against this change and resist his new master. But Blade's power over him is just way too strong now, and he eventually bends to Blade's will. And now that that's done, and he can now call the Impossible City his own, there's still more that he wants. So Blade sends the Black Panther and his Blood Coven back out. He has Blade go to retrieve his prize, which we don't really get to see what that is, so I'm sure that that'll be saved for the Black Panther series. But he sends his Blood Coven to go out and find his daughter. And then we pick up with Blade's daughter, Brielle, aka Bloodline, as she rescues a mother and her young children from a vampire assault. But her partner during this event, the Dark Lord Dracula, feels that there is no time for them to waste on the insignificant. And make sure you guys check out that Blood Hunt playlist at the end of this video for the Dracula Blood Hunt series, which show how these two managed to team up, if you haven't already checked it out. But Bloodline and Dracula have two different ideologies, and to her, they're innocence, not insignificance, and she believes in defending them. But right now, they're vulnerable, and Brielle is the one being hunted. But then the two are caught off guard when they get approached. And before we find out who it was by, although I'm sure you guys can guess who that was, we pick up with Tiger and Hunter's Moon from the Midnight Mission. And as they fight off a horde of vamps, they decide that they need to go and find Doctor Strange for help with dealing with this. But then they're met with Miles Morales' Spider-Man, who also needs to go and find Doctor Strange. And when they get to Strange's place, they're surprised to see him answer the door as a ghost, which we actually caught at the end of the Doctor Strange series last issue. But they fill him in on the hell that's going on outside, and they wonder why he's sitting at home as a ghost. But he brings them in and shows them the reason for that, and the hell that he's also having to deal with. Back with Dracula and Bloodline though, It's the Blood Coven that's come to meet with them. And of course, Dracula is familiar with the top dog of the Blood Coven, Bloodstorm 1, seeing as though he's a clone of Dracula. So when they approach, Dracula demands that B1 kneel before his king. But Bloodstorm 1 does not serve Dracula, of course. So it's about to go down. But just then, this party gets interrupted by the Avengers as the remaining team members come back for round 2. But this time, the Avengers are better prepared for this encounter, and they switch things up. And the first thing they do is to have Vision take their psychic Megrim out of this fight by flying her straight up into the sky, past all of the darkness and into the sunlight. So real talk, y'all, Megrim might straight up be dead already. Like one shot, wiped out. I'm not 100% sure if that's confirmed, but she's looking pretty ashy right now, y'all. But it was the smartest play to make, though, because Vision does have a synthetic brain that is close enough to a human one that Megrim can affect it, but now that he's prepared for it, he's able to cycle his brain patterns too quick, so she can't lock on to him. And if you remember in issue 1, the first thing that Bloodstorm 1 did was to have Megrim put up a psychic static around the Avengers before they got their asses kicked. So now without their psychic, Captain Marvel punches B1 straight through a brick wall. It's up now. And Iron Man gets him another shot at the barbed wire and razor wire Cruel again. And Iron Man is also prepared this time, and he activates an oscillating magnetic field that blocks Cruel's metal wires from getting through. Although what Stark doesn't see is Damascene, who sneaks up behind Stark with one of his daggers that can cut through anything. But Vision's got Stark's back as he flies back down and activates a solar energy flare. He's filled with the power of the sun, he tells them. The Blood Coven sucker punched them when they first met, Captain Marvel says. But they're still the Avengers, even at half strength, and she uses her powers to punch a hole in the dark forest sky, opening up a sliver for the sunlight to beam through, sending the mighty Blood Coven scattering back into retreat. And Sam Wilson is pissed that they got away, but Captain Marvel lets them know that they'll take back their impossible city soon and save their friends. But then Brielle tells Iron Man that they have somewhere that they need to be and they can use their help getting there. And then we pick up with Brielle and Dracula, with the Avengers as they arrived at Doctor Strange's house. So it's kind of cool seeing that Doctor Strange's place has become the natural meeting ground for all of the heroes during an event like this. But they fill in Strange on what's been happening, and Strange does the same. And he tells them that they've already begun to gather forces with Spider-Man in the Midnight Mission. And Brielle already knows Spider-Man since Spider-Man had a short arc in his series with Blade and Bloodline right before a gang war had begun. So she's happy as hell to have a friend there, and she runs up to him. But as Brielle gets closer to Miles, he begins to lose himself, and he grabs his face and starts to growl, and then he rips off his mask, revealing that he himself is now a vampire, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the issue. What's up, comic book fans? And welcome to Comics Icons. Now, JJ, what they call me. And today, we got more Blood Hunt. This time with issue 3 of the main series. So we kick this issue off inside of the Impossible City. And Blade is speaking with the Black Panther, who's found Blade's prize that he had sent Black Panther to Wakanda to locate. Then Blade demands that he have the city spin up his mass translocation drives to bring it to him. Wanda, meanwhile, while still a prisoner of Blade's along with Thor, who's keeping the Blood Coven full off of God blood, begins to taunt Blade, because she's noticed that his Blood Coven came back one short. So she knows that the Avengers must have been prepared for round 2 after Blade's round 1 sneak attack. But then we pick up at the Sanctum Sanctorum, with the heroes having all regrouped there, and Spider-Man has now emerged as a vampire when he had gotten in the vicinity of Brielle, aka Bloodline, Blade's daughter. And as he tries to attack Brielle, Vision and the rest of the team stop him, and then Strange binds him using the Crimson Bands of Sidorak. Then he uses the Eye of Agamotto to free Miles' mind from the madness of the curse, and returning his mind back to his own. But physically, he's still a full-on vampire right now. And Just personally, I can't help but wonder here if Stephen and Clea could have used that same spell to fix Doctor Strange like that. And he could have been a vampire sorcerer right now. The Vampire Supreme. Seems like a wasted opportunity, but I'm guessing there was a reason for it. But now that Miles is back to himself, at least mentally, he apologizes to Brielle for attacking her. But he had been ordered to hunt for her, and he couldn't fight it, he says. But Doctor Strange kind of trauma bonds with Miles on this one because he too fell trapped to that same friend. But then here we find out that Brielle still doesn't know who's behind all of this, because Dracula had popped up in Atlanta requiring her help, but he had never told her why, just that he needed her to help save the world. But when she's finally told here that it's her father, Blade, that's behind all of this, and now that he's the Lord of the Vampires, she's gonna have to be the one to strike him down. Hearing all of this, she freaks out, just like you'd expect. But Dracula assures her that her father is the new Lord of the Vampires, and he's unleashed all of this on the world. And Blade knows that Brielle is now the only person that can stop him, which is why he sent his blood coven after her, because she's his bloodline and represents his only weakness. But then Tigra jumps in to defend Brielle, because that was obviously a really heavy bomb that he just dropped. And she questions how they're supposed to just believe in Dracula now all of a sudden. But Dracula has put too much into legitimizing his vampire nation, and it'll fall just like the human nations if they can't stop Blade, he tells her. Meanwhile, as they're arguing, Captain Marvel notices that Brielle is missing now. She's run off because, like I said, that was some heavy news that they just laid on her. And Miles understands and tries to get Dracula to understand what he just put on her out of the blue, that her father is the most evil person in the world right now and she's got to be the one to put him down. How can he expect her to believe that he's telling the truth? So Spider-Man runs off to go and find her, and Dracula goes with. She's way too important to let out of his sight. And I'm sure we'll pick back up with that trip in their respective tie-in series. And Doctor Strange, he tries to call him back, but I'm really not even sure why he would. If Brielle's out there alone, we know Blade is going to throw everything at her. But it's here where everybody plans their next moves. Stephen and Clea have ideas on where they can go for some help with all of the Dark Force. And the Midnight Mission duo has a plan of their own to raise an army that the vampires can't kill or turn. But they're going to need the help of one more person that they need to recruit, which leaves the Avengers to draw out Blade and the Blood Coven from his impossible city fortress. So now that the plan is set, everyone goes their separate ways. And then Captain Marvel asks Tony how many broadcast systems does he think that he could hack into? And to him, that's a joke of a question, because he can get into them all. So her plan is to set up a broadcast to the whole world, and Sam Wilson is going to be the icon that T'Challa gave his life for Sam to be. So Tony does his thing, and just like that, Captain America is patched into the whole world and gives his public address about how bad things are, but that they're fighting back, even in spite of what they've already lost. And mainly he goes on to give the people hope that they can still win, that they've faced plenty of evils before, and they've overcome them just like they will now. And as he gives his message, we can see how bad this pisses off Blade. And we also see the Midnight Mission with their mysterious third person running through Asgard, and Stephen and Clea as they enter into Latveria. And even T'Challa looking on from Wakanda at Cap's speech, and he's pleased that he's doing what he was supposed to be doing. But when Cap finishes his speech, they all just hope that it's enough to get Blade to come after them. They know that usually Blade is cool and unbothered, but whatever it is now that's wearing his skin is definitely not cool like Blade, Captain Marvel notes. As we see Blade screaming in anger now, and he calls for T'Challa to change plans and retarget those mass translocation drives. Since the Black Panther's friends refuse to lay down and die, and now they've got the audacity to try and inspire hope, he can't let that slide. And New York City will serve as the grave of the Avengers, as he drops his great prize in from the caves of Wakanda that haven't been seen since the days of old Atlantis, right in the Central Park, so that it can be their tombstone, he says. We now see what's called the Temple of the First Blasphemy, and that, my friends, is the end of the issue. What's up, comic book fans? and welcome to Comics Icons. Now, JJ, what they call me. And today, we got more Blood Hunt. It's time with issue 4 of the Blood Hunt series. So this issue picks up with Stephen and Clear Strange, who have traveled to Latveria, and we see that they've gone to enlist the help of Dr. Doom, who knows that things must be next level bad if they've come to him for help. And you can kind of tell that Doom relishes in it too. But then we travel back to the Temple of the First Blasphemy. It's Blade, Black Panther, and the Blood Coven all teleport inside. Blood Hunt, heavy on the bees, I see. But as they walk in, Blade for the first time is openly overjoyed upon setting foot inside of this temple. And he boasts to T'Challa of how wonderful this place was when it was first built, which prompts T'Challa to ask the question that everyone's been dying to know. You're not Blade, are you? And Blade responds, no, I am something much greater. And this has always been his plan. So T'Challa then asks, what are you? And he replies to T'Challa that he is the first vampire. My nomad spirit clothed in my fated vessel, the Daywalker's skin. I am Varney. And there you have it, folks. Shout out to everybody that guessed that this was Varney. I think that last Black Panther issue justified it for us, but here we hear it straight from his mouth. Blade is nothing more than skin for Varney right now. And side note, as I'm reading this, and the Blade movie is going through so much turmoil right now, this right here would be an amazing story on the big screen, I think. The MCU could maybe do 2 to 3 Blade movies introducing some of the concept of a character like Varney. And then after about the 3rd movie of Blade as the hero and being reintroduced to all of the new fans, you drop an entire Blood Hunt saga or phase on their ass. But then we pick back up with Doom as he breaks the Varney news to the strangers. To Doom, this is obvious. Some years ago, Varney's minion, Marie Laveau, had prepared Blade as the host for the spirit of Varney. But that attempt had failed. Apparently, though, a second attempt did not fail. But Doom's borders are vampire free because he was prepared and he took the necessary precautions for his people. And then he basically asked Strange, now what the hell do you want? Gotta love Doom, man. But Strange tells them that they need help with the Dark Force if they're to have any chance of winning. So Doom tells them that for this, they will need a host of mages to begin with. A grand array of magical creatures brought together as one. And Strange knows some magicians, so he thinks that he can handle that. But Doom tells him that there'll be no need, because he's already taken the liberty of recruiting his Strange Academy. So that's what we saw Doom recruiting the kids for in the Strange Academy Blood Hunt #2 issue. But here's the real kicker, y'all. In order for Doom to perform this spell on this wider scale, in order to enact it, he's gonna need to be the Sorcerer Supreme. And then we travel over to Asgard with the Midnight Mission, and they've got a 3rd guy with them, but we don't yet see who it is. Although we do know that it's a criminal because Tiger mentions needing him for a smash and grab, and then him commenting on taking crime advice from an Avenger. And then they approach a large tomb-looking structure, as Hunter's Moon tells them that all priests are called by their gods, and he is no different. And as he approaches this structure, we see that it's a cell. He's here to fucking break out Khonshu. This shit just leveled up, folks. Please excuse my language, but it was absolutely necessary. As he tells Khonshu that although he doesn't have the power to open this door, nor a key, he did bring the Wrecker, who's got an Asgardian crowbar, and the Wrecker pries open the door. Then we pick back up with Varney, Blade, and crew, and now Varney is ready to complete his ritual. As he then tells T'Challa that becoming vampire was only the first step for him, but he was destined to be the end of all things. As he drinks from the blood of Thor and performs his ritual, he then absorbs all of the power of the Dark Force. He's now become one with the entire Dark Force dimension. He's become a vampire that consumes entire planets. He's become the unliving Dark Force. But then T'Challa catches him off guard when he points to the moon now showing, asking what is that then? As Varney is now shocked. It can't be, he says. As Khonshu sends in all his dead fists into this fight, warriors with no fear, no blood or no mercy. And they're all led by the resurrected Mark fucking Spector, Moon Knight. And as Varney now look and knows that Khonshu is back, T'Challa sneaks and grabs one of Damascene's daggers, and you'll like where he took it from, but I'll hold on to that one for just a minute longer. But he grabs the dagger and he strikes at Varney. But it's not enough as Varney just grabs T'Challa with his new Dark Force, and he's shocked again, really. How is it possible for you to defy me with my blood, he asks T'Challa, who responds that Wakanda knows a thing or two about fighting vampires, and the heart-shaped herb has been healing him bit by bit. But it doesn't matter to Varney. Far too little and too late, he tells T'Challa. Did you really think to kill me with that little blade, he asks? But T'Challa tells him no. That wasn't exactly what his plan was, as he tells Varney that he was just removing it. As we see the lightning begin to crackle as T'Challa finishes that it's time for Thor to join us. He took the dagger from Thor's head and now it's up, cause Thor's pissed. And not only that, but it's time for the group to once again be whole as the rest of the Avengers show up as Varney accepts the challenge and he tells them all to come and face the unliving Dark Force. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the issue. What's up, comic book fans? And welcome to Comics Icons. Now, JJ what they call me. And today, we got more Blood Hunt. This time with the 5th and final issue of the Blood Hunt series. So we kicked this issue off back in Latveria, right after Doom told Strange that he'd need to become Sorcerer Supreme in order to save the world. And right now, Clea chastises Doom for maneuvering this way. But Doom responds that only he possesses the knowledge of the ritual to turn back the darkness. But he can't enact without being Sorcerer Supreme. And it's the job of the Sorcerer Supreme to save the world, which is what Doom plans on doing. And Steven agrees with him, telling Clea that Doom is right, and that he's finally outmaneuvered Strange. And then we pick up in Central Park, New York, as the Avengers assemble and take the fight to Varney and his blood coven. And when it all kicks off, the first thing Vision does is break Wanda free. And now with the Scarlet Witch finally back on the side of the Avengers for the first time since the first issue of this series, it's up now. And all that's on her mind is revenge. Thor, though, has history with Varney that dates all the way back to over 1,000 years. So he steps up to the plate to challenge him god to god. But while those two get ready to battle, we switch over to Iron Man, who wants Wanda to cast the Montesi formula now, but she refuses. Never again will she use her power to wipe out an entire people. And that's what will happen with the Montesi formula. It doesn't discriminate, good, vamp, or bad. It just wipes them all out. But Bloodstorm 1 overhears Wanda's reluctance to use the formula and calls them weak for it. Just as he grabs Vision and brutally rips off one of his arms, and then straight up tosses him right back at Wanda. Meanwhile, back in Latveria, Doom informs the Strangers that the Avengers have engaged Varney and his coven, and Khonshu is dispatching his dead acolytes around the world to fight the vampires. But none of it will be enough, as he reaches his hand out to Steven to accept his title. But rightfully so, Dr. Strange is reluctant to give up the title of Sorcerer Supreme, and he makes Doom prove his plans are noble by demanding Doom's word that once the world is saved, he will return to Strange what is his. And without hesitation, Doom gives that word, which is good enough for Steven, who begins the process of transferring a fragment of his own living soul to Doom to bond to his own, just as he had did for Clea back when he died recently. And I can't lie, y'all. When I saw this exchange between Doom and Strange, all I could think about was, what in the hell are you doing, Strange? No, don't do it. But he did. And now it's done, as now Doom is the new Sorcerer Supreme. And then we pick up with Brielle and Dracula in Manhattan as they stand over a horde of fallen vampires in a pretty sick pose as they overlook the city and the structure that Varney has brought back to Central Park. And just as Dracula tries to see if Brielle still has the nerve to do what needs to be done, she reassures him that she's definitely game. But then Miles Morales shows up, asking if Brielle is really planning on taking out her own father. And as she tries to explain to Miles, he tells her that he actually understands, but he wants to make sure that she's gonna be okay. But she tells Miles that she's a cold, sharp blade, and it was Blade that made her that way. And he knows that a blade's job is to cut. Then we pick back up with Varney as he's now got the upper hand on Thor, telling him that he hates him the most of all the Avengers. And the rest of them are merely children of the 20th century. But he and Thor are eternal, and only they understand what it means to see the end of a world. But Thor rebuts with a lightning bolt that frees him from Varney's Dark Force grasp. Meanwhile, Iron Man tries to get Ms. Marvel to blast through the sky to open up some sunlight. But she can't do it right now because the Dark Force is just way too thick right here where they are. In fact, she's not even sure she can fly through it. Vision, meanwhile, still has a little bit of solar energy left, and he uses some of it to blast Damascene, just as he's about to cut through Iron Man's armor. But Vision's power cells are severely drained, and he doesn't have much left, but he offers to use it to hold off the Blood Coven. But then a surprise visitor tells him that he won't have to do it alone, as Moon Knight shows up, declaring that he's back, and he's brought friends. And then we pick back up with Doom as he walks the strangers to meet with the students of the Strange Academy in that scene that we had saw in the finale of their Blood Hunt tie-in series. And Doom begins the ritual of merging all of their magics and demanding everything of them. But back with the Avengers fight, Moon Knight helps Vision take down Bloodstorm 1. But when Moon Knight tells Vision to hit him with his solar energy, Vision is tapped out and he's got nothing left, giving Cruel the opportunity to take advantage. And he wraps up Moon Knight and Vision in his tentacles, while Bloodstorm 1 regathers himself and then taunts both Moon Knight and Vision, threatening to drink their blood while they watch as their master Varney triumphs. And as we see that Varney's new Dark Force powers make him super OP, he easily handles the entire Avengers team by himself. He's drawing the power of an entire dimension, and he's getting stronger every moment. As he then boasts how he only had one weakness, and that was Blade's daughter Bloodline, who's not even here right now. But just as he continues to drag the Avengers, his statement of Bloodline not being there is immediately corrected as she joins the party and leaps in with her blade and places it right into Varney's chest, screaming that she's here to save her dad. But Varney replies to her that it's too late, and she's no longer enough. His possession of Blade has gone on for far too long, and now this body belongs to Varney and not Blade. And since Brielle is Blade's bloodline and not his, then her effect on his is nothing at all. But as he brags about her not being of his bloodline, someone else joins in and tells Varney, then how about the both of us, as Miles Morales is revealed and helps Brielle finish driving that blade into Varney. You turned me into a vampire, Miles tells him. So that means that he is of Varney's bloodline. And it works, as the Dark Force starts to dissipate from his body. And then we switch back over to Latveria, as Doom tells everyone that Varney's concentration has been broken and his control has been shaken. So now it's time for him to strike. And as Doom does his thing, we can see the magic starting to cut through the Dark Force and reverse it. Meanwhile, back with the Avengers fight, Wanda uses this moment to release Varney from the body of Blade. And now Blade is free from his possession, and Brielle runs to him to apologize for what she's done. But Blade tells her that she did exactly what he taught her to do, and she did right. Then Ms. Marvel sends Thor and Cap to go and help out Vision and Moon Knight. While she has Wanda lock down Varney, and Tony and T'Challa work on keeping Blade alive. But that's not a problem for Tony, who has a crash cart built into his suit, and Blade's gonna be okay, besides one more nasty scar. But then Cap notifies the rest of the team that the Blood Coven took off as soon as Varney went down. But Wanda notifies everyone that they've got Varney under control and Blade has been stabilized. Then as Ms. Marvel takes to the skies, she notices that the Dark Force is starting to recede. But she's not sure if it's from what they just did or what Strange is doing. But they've won as the sun starts to shine through now. And then we go back to Latveria with Doom and Strange, as Strange congratulates Doom on a job well done. And then he requests for Doom to return the mantle of Sorcerer Supreme back to him. But Doom just looks at Strange. And then he acknowledges his oath to surrender the office of the Sorcerer Supreme back to Strange once he saved the world. But he's only just begun, he tells Doctor Strange. And Doom does nothing halfway, as he then simply casts Strange away and then says that he will show him what it means to save the world. As we then switch back over to Miles, as he embraces the sunlight and then remembers that he's a vampire and the sun should be his enemy. But nothing happens, as Dracula then tells Miles that the sun has lost its sting, and it would appear that the vampires have a new dawn ahead of them. And then he tells Miles that, like it or not, Varney's blood runs through the both of them. But now, for the first time, the children of the night need not fear the day. And then when Miles asks how that's possible, Dracula replies that when you save the world owes you a debt. But then back with the rest of the Avengers, Ms. Marvel tells the team that there's no time for them to rest, since it's still nighttime for half the world, and that they need to move. But then Iron Man lets them know that he's receiving a priority broadcast that's going out to every screen on the planet right now. And as he plays the broadcast for the team, the message says that the vampire threat is over, and this world, our world, is safe once more. And you have but one man to thank: Earth's new, superior Sorcerer Supreme, Victor Von Doom. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the issue and the series. And pretty much this event, but we still got Midnight Suns coming as the epilogue. But also, coming in November, we get a Doom series called One World Under Doom. But what did you guys think about the issue and the series? I thought it was pretty damn dope, honestly. Although I can't believe how dumb Doctor Strange is in making Doom give an open-ended oath like that, saying that he'd give back the Sorcerer Supreme when he finished saving the world. I kind of feel like Strange deserves to get played like that for being a straight-up goofy. But I also feel like Marvel set this up perfectly with the announcement of Robert Downey Jr. coming back to the MCU to play Doom, just as he ends up wrapping up this event, kind of like Norman Osborn did with Secret Invasion. And I'm talking about the comic book event Secret Invasion, not that whack-ass series that the MCU gave us that I'll never forgive them for. I love the MCU, but Secret Invasion is my all-time favorite event, and they straight up ruined it. So now when I talk Secret Invasion with my non-comic book reading homies, they don't really rock with it. But with this Blood Hunt event now, man, y'all, the repercussions from this event are kind of major. Now the vampires are daywalkers? That's crazy. Because it kind of feels like that cancels out what makes Blade so special. So I'm wondering what they have planned for this new vampire rule. But aside from that, y'all, I absolutely can't wait for that new Doom series. It's up. That's finna slap, I think. But you guys know I want to hear all your thoughts and theories down in the comments about how this all went down and how you would have done it differently if you didn't like how it went down. And as always, if you guys enjoyed this video and this channel and you'd like to support the channel, then you can do so by stopping by the Comics Icon store and picking you up some Comics Icons merchandise, including the background music heard right here in this video, available for download. Or by joining the Iconic Fan Club channel membership, and there'll be a link in the description to join. But with your membership, your voice will be heard during our interactive live streams with yours truly, where we can talk about everything that's been going down in these issues, as well as ones that you'd like for me to go over in the future and other comic news. Plus, you guys will get loyalty badges, member shout-outs, and up to 20% off of Comics Icons merchandise from the Comics Icons store. Plus, we got tiers to the memberships as well, beginning at just 99 cents. Or you guys can donate to the channel with a super thanks. And if you're not able to do any of that, then you can still be a tremendous help to this channel's future by dropping a like, share, and subscribing to Comics Icons for more icons in the comic book world. But ladies and gentlemen, it's about that time. I'm out. Peace.